Hello and welcome. This is a bonus episode and it's our response to what's happening in Ukraine. It's a very lo-fi episode. We've got no jingles, no ads, and it's been edited by me. So, apologies if any errors have clipped in. Let me know. It's my fault. Why have we done it this way? Well, because I wanted to get it out fast. This is hitting the airwaves probably less than 2 hours after we recorded it. Also, because we're putting it out on multiple podcasts, so the branding was going to be wrong, the jingles were going to be wrong, wherever I put it, and because it just feels totally wrong to put ads in an episode like this. So this is sponsor-free, no adverts. You've literally got through the entire episode just me, and then Matteo's going to join us, and then it's just me again. So if your favourite part about my podcast are the jingles, sorry. What's this episode about? Well, earlier this week, Matteo, who is someone with brilliant e-commerce experience, reached out to see if I would be up for sharing what he and his team are doing to help in Ukraine. In his words, to help the professional network to fight this war. So we're going to talk about how those e-commerce skills are being leveraged to help. We're also going to share how you can help Matteo and his team, and I'll share a couple of other clever ways to help that I've come across recently. And we're going to talk kind of bigger picture as well, a little bit about how this is going to change things, what this might mean for your e-commerce business. This is definitely an e-commerce episode, but with a whole hunker of how to help Ukraine in it, if hunker is a word. Now, yes, we are doing an episode on a war, but if you're a regular listener, you will know that my way of coping with big, scary things is to get practical and find ways to get positive. So this is very much not a guilt trip you into donating infomercial. This is more a celebration of some of the amazing people and things that are happening in response to the awfulness. My aim is for this to be an inspiring and hopeful episode. I think that is how it's turned out, because I'm recording this after I've recorded the rest of it. And I really do not believe this is going to make you sad. I think this is going to make you inspired and happy, because quite frankly, that's what we all need right now. None of us need more sadness. Right, here we go. And now to introduce today's special guest. Matteo Grassi is ex-Shopify Plus, the CEO and co-founder of Pop-Up, a no-code e-commerce platform, and co-founder and advisor to Viceroy Group, a humble and happy umbrella group of D2C brands, which is an amazing description that I've stolen from their LinkedIn profile. I can take no credit for that line. Between the two companies, they have team members from all over the world, including Ukraine. So Matteo and his team have been quick to work out how they can help their own team members and leverage their skill sets to help the Ukrainian people cope with the day-to-day challenges of this war, and as we're going to find out an awful lot more too. Hello, Matteo.
Hello. Hi, Chloe.
Brilliant to have you here. Thank you for reaching out to me, and also for sparing the time to come on and talk about all this, because with everything you're up to at the moment, I'm guessing you're quite busy.
Yeah, I'm very busy. I stopped going to the gym. I lost about 5-6 kgs, which is pretty good. That was positive. But yeah, I think I have to restart to having a normal life next week, because since everything started, we've been involved in a lot of initiatives, and at the same time still running the business on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, which is it's a lot to do, isn't it? I always think at times like this, whenever things go a bit mad in our lives for whatever reason, you reach a point where you kind of have to make a decision that you're going to change down a gear. You know, it's a bit like when you're going up a hill in the car and you stay in second for too long, and at some point you have to change over to third just to make life a bit easier.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I felt like this just the week before the war started. I was feeling so hopeful. You know, I got the news like the mask mandate was down. It was the end of COVID, and I felt, I feel so cool about, you know, the next year. I was actually ready. We were house hunting in Kiev on the 10th of February, so a couple of weeks before,
Wow.
before the war started. And in April, we had the flights booked to go back and maybe put some money down payment into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my hey, let's do this, let's go for it. And then the world was like, nope, 2022 is not going to be as you think. It's you'll have to do some work, I think. It's not going to be as relaxing.
We thought we'd reached the sunshine or the light at the end of the the kind of global misery that has been getting through COVID. But no, not
No,
yet, not
no,
yet.
not yet. No, definitely.
Someone extended the tunnel a bit further. So obviously you were planning on moving to Ukraine. You've got team members in Ukraine. What led you to decide that it was time to get positive and do something to help those that are affected by the war?
Yeah, my wife is Ukrainian as well. And we have people in Ukraine as well, besides family and friends and colleagues. So to me was, I didn't have to think. There was nothing else I could do, especially at the beginning. Your mind is just locked into what's happening over there, and you feel so powerless as well, especially being far away. So within the first 2 hours, I started thinking, okay, what can I do? What can we do today to help people? And basically we just start listening to what people wanted on the ground. We're getting messages from friends, getting messages from friends of friends, connecting us, and they were like, I need this, that this is missing. Can you help it? Can you help here? Can you help there? And then we realized, yes, actually we can help. It was very organic the way it worked. From our colleague that was like, the territorial defense needs 400 radios and bulletproof vest, and we were like, okay, let's see how we can get them. And it was just getting 3 people from our team in Vice Versa Group, which is our scouter and sources, and that's what they do all day. They just look for products, scout suppliers, contact them, get a sample, ship it over to wherever in Europe, and get it through our warehouses and move it through. I mean, it's supply and delivery, supply chain 101. And within one day, we found the products. In the second day, we bought it. So we put the money forward even before we start fundraising. So we paid for everything. And then we're like, we'll worry about raising money after. And we eventually raised enough for covering everything that we spent. But within 5 days, they had the radios on the ground. And that was it. I mean, through my LinkedIn network, I was able to find people on the border, which they were running charters from Romania to Kiev. And then another thing started as well. We had people on the ground that they were delivering foods for old people and disabled people and pregnant women. So because everything is in lockdown and no one can move and it's not safe to move, a lot of these category, you can call it, they were underserved because they couldn't go to the collection points of humanitarian aid. So a lot of volunteers, they started going into this collection point, buying food or getting food for free, whatever it was, supermarket or free food, and then going around home by home to deliver to like old people. And they were coming to us like, I'm running out of money, because they were using their own money. So we started basically funding them, and we created this network where it's like Glovo, pretty much like Uber Eats. So honestly, now it's actually we got a structure a little bit better, but we get a request from Telegram from one of these households. The request gets put in, we get one of our volunteers buy food, send the receipts, we send money, and the food is delivered within, I don't know, 1 hour or 2 hours.
I think it really highlights the reality of what's happening on the ground, what you've been able to help with. I think a lot of people, we see what we see on the news, the primary news channels, which is all things exploding and people being hurt and people needing guns and arms and tanks and all the rest of it. But actually, you use the word lockdown there, and it's a lot like the early days of COVID, where people need that just day-to-day assistance to bring them the things they need because it's too dangerous to go outside. COVID lockdown, too dangerous to go outside because we didn't know what the disease was like. Now, too dangerous to go outside because of what Russia's doing. So I think people often just see kind of like the noisy bit, literally the noisy bit of the guns and the hospitalizations, but actually there's an awful lot of good that can be done in a non-war footing, I suppose, to help people on the ground with the things they need. And I guess it's testament to this world of tech that we now live in, that someone sat in Galway, I should say, in Ireland, is able to use your network to find out what people need and organize that to get it to them.
100%. And I think, again, with COVID, everyone that worked in commerce or supply chain in general experienced the PPE madness within the first 2 months of COVID, right? So it's actually the same thing that happened in Ukraine. a sudden event that you don't expect to happen. The supply chains are not ready for it, which means that there is a lot of scarcity, and you have a big organization trying to work on procurement of large shipment, which is good, but it takes a lot of time. So then you have smaller businesses that start to work on the ground, trying to source and find, mask or, hand sanitizer, while the large companies try to procure it. And if you see what happened with the PPE, that's exactly what happened. It took like 6 to 7 months before these large contracts were fulfilled. And with these 7 months, there was like basically madness, where everyone was trying to just get what they could. And you had a lot of e-commerce stores coming in, a lot of businesses that were shifting from, selling to selling masks. And this is actually what's happening right now, is that it's very hard for this large organization to be responsive. I'll give you an example. You can run a fundraising on GoFundMe. It takes 2 weeks for the funds to be cleared. Just 2 weeks for the funds to be cleared. So you can raise $1 million, then it takes 2 weeks for the funds to be cleared. And then if this goes to an NGO, there is more paperwork to be done. By the time the money is in the bank, and then you have to purchase things, it's probably a month and a half. And we've been 3 weeks into this war, and see what happened. So you see all this money coming in, and you see all these, this country A is raising this amount of money, this guy A is raising 30 million. They don't have them over there. I can assure you that they're still scrambling, because this money is still being processed and is within I don't know where it is. I mean, it's going to arrive eventually, but it might be too late, because this war has been moving so fast. I think it's because we live in 2022 and everything moves fast. Social media, information, communication, it's not like it used to be. And I think that's where people like us and entrepreneurs can come in. And I do see a very, similar way, like you have a company like Amazon that, is like the giants, right? And I can compare them to this large charity organization. But then you have smaller entrepreneurs that can actually empower, change by doing something smaller, but collectively becomes big.
Yeah, I think it's a real example of how the entrepreneurial spirit or the small business mindset can make a lot of things happen a lot more quickly and fill in the gaps before those big organizations are able to move the mountains that they end up moving. And it's such a fascinating, it's one of the many things which is so fascinating about what's happening. So you've been using e-commerce and Commerce4Good, the kind of the supply chain side of things and the sourcing abilities that you've got and various comms channels. You've also gone as far as actually creating an e-commerce store already populated with unique products to help raise money for this effort too.
Yeah, so I stumbled upon an initiative of this Canadian guy that sold stickers called St. Javelin, and he raised 1 million. Well, he sold $1 million worth of sticker in 3 days. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy story. He thought, he wanted to basically raise $500. It just went viral, and people just start buying. And he basically made $1 million, and he donated all of that to an organization. So Commerce4Good, we were able to register as an NGO. So we're working on the front on raising money from investors, from the network of investor that we have with Pop-Up. And at the same time raising money from regular people that want to support us. But we were like, how can we just raise more and try to get money in even quicker? And we came up with an idea of collaborating with 20 different Ukrainian artists that we knew. I mean, we knew like 4 or 5 creators, and then they spread the word, and within one day we had 20 creators involved. And these are people that changed their career from being a tattoo artist, being a YouTuber, or being a creator to now either being a volunteer or working at the territorial defense, and some of them are fighting in the front line. And so we decided to get over 80 prints, working with Printful, which is a print-on-demand store, print-on-demand app in Latvia, which they were very, very nice as well to waive the fees. And we're also exploring PR partnership together. And just creating some t-shirts that people can buy. And in addition to that, you can actually also do some add-ons. We work on upsells for increasing the average order value, obviously. And the upsell are you can buy like a week of petrol or a week of meals, or you can tip. So you can buy the t-shirt and then you can, add some money extra for our volunteers. And when you buy the t-shirt, there is a profile of the artist that you're buying from and a brief story about what they were doing and what they're doing now.
I love my normal e-commerce head is now coming on there, and I just love the fact you are using all the tricks and tips of the e-commerce world and how it is in 2022 to maximize the potential. Upsells in or tips, upsells, whatever you want to call them, happening in the checkout. The same way as we might say, would you like to offset the carbon of your delivery? I guess the exact opposite is, would you like to buy some petrol? But it's the same technology, and you're putting the story in there. So they're buying from an individual, so there's that emotional connection, which one is going to make the person who's going through and buying the t-shirt feel better, but it's also going to lead to them telling more people and putting it out on social media and spreading the word. And the other thing you mentioned in there is that to fund this charity, you've also gone out to your VC network, which is another way you're bringing your skill set to the table. And I think it's just all the elements of that is I think people often feel they don't know what to do in these scenarios, and they just go and give some money to somebody. But actually, there's an awful lot we can repurpose our existing skill set in this modern environment to do good.
Yeah, 100%. I think what people ask me sometimes, what is your superpower, right? And I think in marketing, e-commerce, if you are an entrepreneur, you have some sort of superpowers. You either amazing in marketing, you're amazing in organization, operations, or finance and things like this. And when you run a charity or when you're doing large scale fundraising, it's all the same. It changes, but it's always like people raising money, spending money, sourcing products, shipping products. It's demand and supply. It's understanding what people need and try to give it to them. The only difference is that you're not doing it for profits. But I mean, most of the companies I know are not profitable, so I guess it's not that much different, right? I mean, it's like, especially when you're VC funded, it's like profit is not really an issue. It's like growth and bringing the team over. So I don't actually see much difference now from charity. Shouldn't say that. What are you gonna get?
Yeah, but it is, isn't it? It's a charity is just another form of business. It's just you're counting the numbers in a slightly different way, or the output in a slightly different way. And whether you're using a supply chain to get Kevlar vests to the front line, or using a supply chain to get t-shirts to people, or you're using a supply chain to get food to people, it's the same skill set. It's the same opportunity. So Commerce4Good has set up artistsforgood.store. I should say that's the name of the t-shirt store, and you're doing all these bits and pieces, and we'll share the link of how people can donate to assist what you're doing. What key thing would you say to anyone listening in the world of e-commerce, in the world of marketing, that they could do at the moment to help in general? Is it about giving money? Is it about donating our skills? Is it about being noisy?
I don't know. It depends. It depends how much involvement you want to have, and I completely understand that some people don't want to get involved at all. I mean, I don't actually necessarily think that everyone should speak out about what's happening in the world. I think we shouldn't downplay what's happening around in the world, and I think it's not about the war. I think it's about fighting for freedom in general, and I think it's about fighting for the future of our kids and the future in general, for a better future, because this war it's the fight against what we need to leave behind. These are autocratic, old school leadership model with politicians that are not relatable. There is much more to me that I see just beside this war, and I think that's why this war went so viral as well, and this is why the word is running up, and this is why everyone is finding within themselves a reason to speak up. So I think for marketers, some of my friends, for instance, they're doing classes, right? People that do webinars, they're doing the same webinars, but it goes to charity. It's like they run a mastermind for email marketing, or build the personal brands. They sell tickets for 30, 40 pounds, and then they donate everything to charity. Personally, I think that it's a great idea. You're going to get amazing PR as well. So I think if you just want to be a little bit selfish and thinking, hey, what's in it for me, which is completely fine. I think we're humans. We need to, we need to think like that, especially because, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, most of entrepreneurs that I know, they're struggling. It's not like they have an easy life, easy job, not working very hard. So if you're donating your time that is so constrained already, you want to get something out. But I do see that if you do something like this, it's an amazing PR. You're going to look awesome, right? So, right. So you're going to see the benefits in terms of profits, a few months down the line, just by doing something good.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because yesterday there was a debate going on in the sustainability space on LinkedIn about, does it matter what the motivations are of someone who's starting to offset some carbon? Does it matter if they're doing it purely for marketing purposes, or does it, should they be worthy about it, and should they be, getting really, really green about it all? And most people were saying that they, you've got to have the right motivations. I was like, I don't care what someone's motivations are for giving money to Ukraine, or for helping in Ukraine, or for helping with climate change, or for helping people who need help, so long as the right outcome happens.
100%. 100%. And I think that's what we're seeing with all the companies around the world. Literally every major company is pulling out of Russia and taking a stand, because there's no neutrality in this world. This is what happened. And this is not me saying it, it's just what happened. That's what happened. There's not like you either with Russia now or against Russia. There's literally no neutrality. And I don't know if these companies really cared about what was happening, or if politicians now, they care about what's happening in Ukraine. But what I know is that the people are united against something, and politician wants to be reelected, and companies don't want to lose the customers. So if you don't want to lose the customer, to look like an asshole. Is that okay to say that?
You're okay with that one? Yeah, that's
all right.
right.
With that one? Or we can bleep it. But if you want to look bad, let's say, or you want to get reelected, then you have to stand by Ukraine. And I think, I'm not in UK politics, but I do see that Boris Johnson is getting a lot of points now for what he's doing. He's looking great. I mean, he's getting very involved, and on the international community, if he had done something bad, he's definitely getting better PR. He's getting positive PR. Am I wrong? You're in UK.
I'm in the UK, and I try to avoid politics as much as possible at the moment. I am currently not listening to the news.
Gotcha.
And to be fair, Boris is a savvy maneuver. He knows a lot of Russians. Let's just put that out there.
I know. Speak Russian too.
But they're doing, they are. Any politician would be crazy not to be being anti-Russia, pro-Ukraine.
Yes,
at the moment.
correct. Yeah, so
because you don't want. This is not a time to be moving against the crowd.
Exactly. So I think it's like, do I care if they want to just be relaxed, or a company really is doing it because they care about Ukraine? Do I care? Not much. No. Are they helping this cause? Are they creating change, positive change? Or yes, it's fine with me. I'm okay with that.
Let's face it, the people on the ground in Ukraine who need an insulin delivery, or want some food, or some dog food, or torches, or whatever it is they want, they're not bothered about whether the motivation of that person was to sell some more tickets to their webinar or not. It's not.
Yeah, I know. I
relevant.
understand. Yeah, I think one thing that we learn from all of this is, like, if we are united, we can change the world, and we can do this with climate change. We can do this with anything we want. Politicians will follow what we want. They're going to listen to what we want, because they want our votes. And companies want us to buy their product. We pay taxes, we purchase products, consumers have the power. And I think in e-commerce, if you want to run a successful business, you need to be customer centric. Long are gone the time of crappy drop shipping, selling products, customers that don't want your products anymore. You need to work on retention. You need to build a customer base. You need to build the community. And to build the community, you need to build trust. And to build trust, you have to sell great products and have values, right? The cost per acquisition now has gone through the roof. You cannot afford now to sell once off anymore. I mean, we all know that. It's like a business that in today, a direct-to-consumer good that operate with this model is destined to fail. You cannot just do a one-off sale. You have to work on the community. You have to work on that retention. So to do that, you need to embrace what people want at the moment, which means, back into the Ukraine thing, if people are running up to this, it might be smart to try to do something about it, because you are going to show to your customer, future and current, that you care about things that are not just profit related, and consumer respond well to that.
I think you've just touched on something there, which we were talking about before we hit record, and both getting quite animated about. So we'll attempt to bring that to all of you now listening. Now we've bothered to hit the record button, which is this for you. You talk about silver linings. For me, I see the big business shift, the way things are moving. That this coming out of the pandemic and then hitting this war trigger point, or whatever you want to call it, is speeding up a massive global change in how people and businesses are approaching things. And with our e-commerce strategy heads on, we need to be recognizing that this war is fundamentally changing how people are behaving, reacting, what they're interested in, and so forth. What do you think, Matteo? Is that your take on it? Is yours slightly different?
No, 100%. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think, as I was saying before, I think it's like a lot of things are going to change, and it gives me a glimpse in the future. And I do think it's going to be a better future, because one thing that I noticed that I was saying is, like, when we are united, we can do anything. And even in Ukraine, it's like I spent a lot of time over there, and spoke to a lot of e-commerce business, a lot of entrepreneurs that were trying to raise money. Some of them, have their own e-commerce operation, trying to sell internationally. Ukraine is a fantastic manufacturing as well industry, from consumer goods to fashion. Fashion is incredible. Lots of amazing fashion brands in Ukraine. The issue was corruption in the post office. So if you are a brand in Ukraine, you can manufacture from there, but you're not going to be able to ship all over Europe, because there is a lot of corruption in the post office, and it brings the cost very high. And at the same time, if you were trying to raise investment, the war that was going on for the last 8 years was making, about 70 to 80% of investment fall. And this was from friends of mine that were working BC in Ukraine trying to raise money. So an example I was giving you before was, if you have a back pain and you can walk, but you can't run, and eventually that you have to go through surgery, to go through, some tough times, but after the surgery is gone and it's finished, you'll be able to run and nothing can stop you. And this is exactly what Ukraine is going through right now. It's a surgery to remove Russia from their influence that they had for a long time, until up to 2014, they had direct influence with Yanukovych. And after 2014, with the Euromaidan revolution, Yanukovych was gone. So they took Crimea, they started the war, and they exercised that influence by this kind of terrorist military operation that didn't allow the country to progress, because there was an active war on the ground. And that's what they're doing right now. They have to remove that, and they will be able to fly. Regarding the corruption, again, because the system has been fairly destroyed right now, and a lot of people left, a lot of pro-Russian as well, they stopped to be pro-Russian, and the country is united now like never before. A lot of these issues are not going to be there anymore for the rebuild. Corruption is going to be gone, because people now are together. There's nothing more that brings people together than an enemy. And I was reading a book from Michael Shine, which is the Hype Handbook. The Hype Handbook is about how to create hype in your marketing strategy, right? And one of the chapters is called Make War Not Love. And Make War Not Love talks about this. You need to create an enemy to be able to create a community and a strong messaging behind your brand. And an enemy kind of, in marketing can be, I fight like Mac, Mac versus PC. Well, we're fighting against the PC or we're fighting against anyone that doesn't think different, people that are stuck in their ways. We empower everyone to think different. Or Superhuman, which is an email app, they're fighting against Gmail unproductive way of doing things, And there's nothing more that brings people together than an enemy. And this is why we feel so together. And this is why Putin with this war brought us all together, because now we have an enemy and we have a face now. The issue that the pandemic brought to us was, instead of bringing us together, they put us apart, because this virus didn't have a face. And so we had to give a face. So who became the enemy? The government. And then we start fighting against the government. It was putting lockdowns in us, and then we lost trust against the government. So instead of actually bringing us together, it's bring us even more divided. And what's happening right now is bringing us back together. And I don't know if that was karma or whatever it is, but I do see a difference on people before the pandemic and people now. And I do feel that they were more united now. Even at the US Congress, I saw Zelensky speaking for the first time in years. There was a standing ovation, bipartisan standing ovation from Republican and Democrat standing up together. And United States has never been divided like ever, right?
Yeah.
And it was emotional to me. I saw it. I was like, we probably needed this. We needed the bad guy to be together again, start cooperating in things, and talking about climate change and things that matter as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Matteo, everyone listening, actually, I'm going to do a big old links roundup in a moment, so you all know exactly what we've been talking about and what you can do. We found a whole load of links to share with you of how you can help out in the Ukraine situation. So I'll do that after I say goodbye to you, Matteo. So before we say goodbye, is there any kind of last thoughts or anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
No, not really. I mean, I think everyone feels a bit overwhelmed about everything that is happening, and that's totally normal. I think everyone that is involved in this war, from far away, from being on the ground, you don't need to be on the ground to feel what I'm feeling right now, which is a sense of tiredness. And it's I feel very tired this week. At the beginning, you are in shock. You have this kind of pumped phase where you're like, oh my God, we're gonna win, this is gonna change. And now I start to feel a little bit tired. It's very normal, and it's normal as well because it's a war that is fought in social media, and we follow it live through Instagram and through Telegram groups. There's no filter from CNN or BBC where they decide what to pick. It's constant bombardment of information on social media. So just look after your mental health, take a break sometimes, and be kind to yourself, because it's not easy. Don't underestimate the power of social media and information can do to our brain, of all the images that we need to process, which we're not used to it, and we're definitely not ready for it. So yeah, keep up, stay positive, and let's look at the brighter future. That's my message.
It's a marvelous message to end on. Matteo, thank you so much for coming on and sharing such a positive outlook and such practical examples of what you guys are up to. So thanks for all you're doing, and thanks for coming on and telling us all about it.
Thanks, Chloe.
What an inspiring chat. I actually feel more positive for recording that than I did beforehand, which is bizarre given the topic we are talking about. As I said, I'm going to give you a whole load of links here of ways you can do good. So let's run through those. So you can support Matteo and his team's work via Commerce4Good, which is with the number 4. And you can go to their page of links about that at chloelink.com/commerce number 4 good. So chloelink.com/commerce4good. And if you want to get one of those t-shirts and support that way, that's at www.artists4 number 4 again good.store. So www.artists4good.store. Now, for some more ways you could help, you could hire some Ukrainian talent. There are still an awful lot of awesome tech people, marketing people in Ukraine doing work right now. And outside Ukraine doing work right now. They are at, you can find a website all about that at remoteukraine.org. You can also, a couple of interesting sites with loads of links and loads of advice. There are ways to help Ukraine from wherever you are in the world. So these have kind of like by country pages. And we've linked to that at chloelink.com/Ukraine help, all one word. You can also find out a similar resource, but more about what you should and can be doing as a business. And that's at chloelink.com Ukraine business. And thank you very much to Tim Richardson, because I stole a whole load of these links from his newsletter this morning, his Your Basket is Empty newsletter. He put several of those together, so that saved me some time today. And I've got one last one to give you, which is that my friend and e-commerce agency owner, Simon Wharton, who listens to this podcast, he is running 100K this month for the Disasters Emergency Committee. So you could just go and sponsor him on his Just Giving page. which you can get to via chloelink.com/Simon. And I'm including this last one for 3 reasons. 1, the Disasters Emergency Committee is well worth supporting. 2, the idea of running 1 kilometre fills me with horror. So anyone running 100 kilometres deserves support. And 3, I know Simon will listen to this whilst running, and I like the idea of him getting a massive surprise. So Simon, please don't trip over. All those links should be right there, wherever you are listening to this, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. The links should be there. Or if you go to chloelink.com/Ukraine, you will find our webpage for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this lo-fi, inspirational, hopefully positive episode. I'd love to know what you think about it, so do let me know. And thank you very much for listening.